Hi, welcome to another episode of Romance Happy Hour. I am Dylan Crush. We're a few minutes late getting started. Sorry, we were having some technical difficulties, and that is totally normal for us. I think it must be me because we don't have technical difficulties when Dawn is here by herself, but I'm the one with the bad mojo. But I want to introduce tonight, we have some fabulous authors, and we have, for the first time ever, we have a reader that is actually joining us, one of our regular viewers, Catherine. So thank you so much for being tribute and representing all of the viewers that we have and sacrificing yourself to help make this go off without a hitch. We're super happy that you're here.
And it's not I get a long time to all a drink.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm very grateful you're here. And I know Dawn is breathing a little easier wherever she is, probably sitting around a bonfire making s'mores right now. So we're very glad to have Catherine here to kind of help out. And this is normally the part where Dawn and I kind of talk about what we're working on and stuff. But I think what we'll do is, Catherine, if you want to just introduce yourself, I did post a bio for everybody. But if you just want to kind of say, who you are and maybe what your favorite things to read are. And I think we all know that you know Dawn because of the Coast Guard connection and all that. But yeah, go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, as Dawn said, I'm Catherine, and this is Zena. Apparently, she's going to join me for this. I met Dawn through Coast Guard as our connection. My husband is Coast Guard, so we're currently stationed in North Carolina, and I have a 5-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son. This is one of 2 cats, and I also have 2 dogs. I will read a little bit of everything, but my favorite and always first go-to is romance, and I normally will switch, but like if I read a historical, the next romance I'll read will be contemporary, and then flip back and forth that way. And I love to read. I have a couple of guilty pleasure TV shows, and I wish I was a professional photographer, but right now I just do it for fun.
Very cool. And I'm sure that you have plenty of free time to read and practice your photography with 2 small children and 4 pets.
The photography I do because I use, they get fed up after a while, but I do use my kids and pets. But the reading, that normally happens in small little pockets of time.
Yep. I have been there and done that. So, totally get you. And then our authors tonight, we're super excited to have Jenna St. James, who I got to meet for the first time at the Barbara Vay weekend just this past April. And I'll have you introduce yourself here in just a second. And then we also have Melanie Johnson. And Melanie, we've known you for a long time, or I've known you for a long time from Chicago. Because, the Spring Fling, and you were at Barbara Vay, and so I've known Melanie for a couple of years now, I think. But Jenna, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, maybe give us a little background on how you started writing and what you write. And I gotta say, though, you are the author that you have the best swag out of any author I have ever seen in my entire life. She had these 3-foot tall flasks at her table at the Barbara Vay thing that had her logo on them and everything. And so, Melanie, you should probably hook up with her because as the writing lush, I think we could make a connection here.
My name is Jenna St. James, and I mostly write cozies, but mine always have an underlining theme of romance in them. I've been writing for a few years now, full time as of this year. I think I have in one series 10 books in the Riley Sinclair series. I have 4 in the Sullivan Sisters series. And basically, the thing I tell people I like for them to take away from my books is that I'm very family oriented, and that there's always wacky characters, and in every one of my stories, it's very military friendly things that you can take from my books.
Fantastic. And how about you, Melanie? Oh, and you know what? Real quick, sorry, Jenna, what are you working on now?
Okay, so I'm actually doing an anthology with about 15 other authors, and for Halloween, and I do the Witch in Time series. So all 5 of us who write the Witch in Time, we're going to do small bits there. And then I actually have, hopefully within the next month, 4 kind of romantic comedies that I have written. So I'm hoping to get those out. Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, you're not busy at all either. All right, and Miss Melanie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody how you got started writing? And this has been a very big spring for you, so fill us in.
Yeah, so I'm Melanie Johnson, and I write contemporary romance. I like to say that my books are fun, flirty, and a wee bit dirty. They are all definitely open door. The door is wide open. So if you're into that, I'm your girl. And yeah, so my first, my debut series, the Sometimes in Love series, came out with a triple release back to back to back. So April 30th, May 28th, and just this week, June 25th, the third book in the series came out. So you have Getting Hot with the Scot, and Smitten by the Brit, and Once Upon a Bad Boy. So the books take traditionally historical tropes in a lot of ways and then bring them to the modern times. So you have a hot Highlander, you have a dashing Duke, and you have a bit of a reckless rogue, but they're all in modern times because I think modern girls need kilts and dukes and rogues too.
Absolutely. And you have spent, I mean, just getting 3 books ready to release back to back to back. I know has taken a lot of time and energy and effort, but what have you got in the works now? Are you working on the next big thing? Because that's, you know, if people don't know, as a writer, by the time you've got a book coming out, it's probably been, you know, 3 to 4 months since you've seen it. So,
Right.
You know, you've been a long time.
So, so the third book in the series just dropped this week, and I should be hearing news soon. Cross your fingers about another series, a new series, again with strong female friendships and lots of fun tropes. So we'll see. And obviously, I do want to continue the Sometimes in Love series, but for right now, I'm working on a new series, so something else to get out there.
Very Very cool. And we're going to hear from which book tonight?
So I think I'm going to give everyone a taste of that first book. We're going to hear from Getting Hot with the Scot.
Very cool. And I think we are going to have you up first. So if you are ready, are you ready?
I can be ready.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and pop everybody else down. So we will give you the screen.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to be reading from Getting Hot with the Scot. And this book opens with 5 friends on vacation. And they are currently in Scotland. And when the book starts, they are on a castle tour in Edinburgh Castle. And they're at a whiskey tasting. And one of the girls, Cassie, she needs to go to the bathroom, you know, all the whiskey and all of that. So she goes off to find the bathroom while her friends go do something else. And then she gets lost trying to make her way back from the bathroom. And while she's coming back, she hears a weird noise and decides she needs to go investigate what this noise is. So here we go. As she made her way back towards the library, Cassie paused in front of the rooms open for viewing. Like a life-size dollhouse, each room was decorated in painstaking detail, filled with historical props and dramatic touches. So realistic, the castle felt alive, as if the inhabitants had just stepped out and would be back at any moment. An antique sewing basket rested at the foot of one wing-backed chair. A secretary desk stood open, revealing a stack of letters tied with a ribbon piled next to a stationery kit, complete with feathers and a brass quill knife. Plush red velvet robes blocked most of the doorways, forbidding as giant stop signs. But if she leaned forward and craned her neck around the threshold, The view was worth the risk of landing on her slightly tipsy face. Maybe more than a little tipsy. Cassie blinked, looking around the empty, unfamiliar corridor. Where am I? A woman wearing a headset rushed around the corner, almost knocking Cassie to the ground as she scurried past. "Excuse me," Cassie called out. "Do you know where the library is?" The woman stopped short and turned around. "Huh?" Cassie raised her voice. "The library?" She over-enunciated, and mimed opening and closing a book. "Oh, right." The woman paused, pressed a button on a black box clipped at her waist. "Hold on," she barked into the microphone connected to her headset. "I think we've got one more." She returned her attention to Cassie. "Sorry about that." She shifted the microphone away from her mouth and tapped her chin. "The library, yes. I believe it is. Let me see now." Doubt curled in Cassie's stomach, mixing with the alcohol. "You do work here, don't you?" "What's that?" The woman smiled and nodded. I'm working here today, sure enough. Now, the library. You'll be wanting to go down that way." She pointed to the end of the hallway, where another corridor broke off on the right. Cassie squinted down the deserted hall, uncertain. "Are you sure?" The woman nodded again. "Oh, quite sure." She waved her hand in brisk dismissal. "Now, if you'll excuse me." Thank you," Cassie called after the woman, who was already zipping away in the other direction. Cassie thought she heard the woman say something about getting ready because she's on her way, but couldn't be sure. With a shrug, Cassie turned down the corridor on the right as instructed. It didn't seem familiar, but maybe she didn't roam so far off course. This was a shortcut back. About halfway down the hall, an odd croaking sound stopped her in her tracks. Worried she'd upset a loose floorboard, Cassie went up on her tiptoes and took a careful step forward. The wooden floor remained silent beneath her, but as she neared a doorway, the croaking came again, louder and more distinct this time. A moan, long and low. What the hell? The door stood slightly ajar, a sliver of light peeking through the crack and kissing her toes. Cassie dropped to her heels and glanced around the hall. She was completely alone. Since there wasn't any of the dreaded velvet rope blocking her way, she pushed the door all the way open and cautiously entered the room. Golden August sunlight sparkled on floating dust motes, flittering across the wooden planks of the floor in shadowy patterns made by the beveled lead dividing the glass of the tall windows. An ancient four-poster bed stood in the center of the room, shrouded with thick hunter green curtains. "All right," Cassie promised herself. "If the noises are coming from that bed, you have permission to haul ass out of here." As if on cue, another groan filled the room, hollow and haunting. The good news? The sound was definitely not coming from the bed. She shivered with a freaky combination of relief and apprehension. The groan had come from the other side of the room, where a massive bookcase filled most of one wall. On a hunch, she crossed the room and ran her fingers slowly over the bookshelves. Nothing happened. "What did you expect, Nancy Drew?" she chided herself. "A hidden spring revealing a secret passage? Who goes there?" A hoarse Scottish burr rolled from behind the wall. Still gripping one of the bookshelves, Cassie stumbled sideways, and the entire bookshelf moved with her, sliding open like a closet door. "Holy bleep!" "For shame, lass, what a tongue you have!" a husky voice growled. She peered around the edge of the bookcase. A man sat in the recessed space, one shoulder propped against the inner wall of what appeared to be a passageway. His legs were sprawled in front of him, his bare legs. Would you look at that? The man is wearing a kilt. Note to self, Cassie Crowe, be careful what you wish for. The man groaned again, and raised a hand to shield his eyes from the sunlight now cutting across the hidden alcove. Are you all right? I will be fine once you douse that blasted light. He squinted up at her. Maybe a new chambermaid. Chambermaid? She eyed the wide sleeves and open neck of the old-fashioned piratey shirt he wore. Not sure what kind of weird stuff you're into, buddy, but I don't do RPG. Weird. His dark red brows drew together as he shaped his mouth around the letters. RPG. Role-playing games, you know, like cosplay or whatever. She pointed at him. Look, you're the one wearing the getup and talking like a reject from Macbeth. He narrowed his eyes at her finger. Be ye a witch? What did you call me? With another groan, he lurched forward. Oh God, what if he was hurt? For all she knew, he was a member of some historic castle tour who got lost in a back passageway and hit his head. She leaned down to inspect him for bruises. He threw a hand out, palm up, warding her off. Back away, sorceress, he hissed. Seriously? She slapped his hand out of the way. Here, let me help you get out of there. Cassie tugged gently on his shoulder. The voluminous shirt was loose, but she could feel and appreciate the thick spread of muscle beneath the soft fabric. Just my luck. I finally run into a hot Highlander, and he's delusional. I can stop there, or we can keep going.
Okay, that was great.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
All right, sorry, we're bringing everybody back in. Give me a minute.
I want to make sure I stayed within the 10-minute time frame.
Oh, you're fine. Yep, you're fine.
I was watching the clock.
That's kind of hard to do when you're reading.
I'm like, I still have 3 minutes. I'm like, I could get to the kiss, or I could wait.
Oh, you know what? Our viewers like the kiss. So I think, yeah, you probably should have gone for the kiss.
Well, now they'll have to read the book.
Now they'll have to read the book. That's right. So I don't know. I hope you couldn't hear me, because then that means I didn't mute myself. But I was laughing out loud. I thought that was darling.
I didn't hear you, so that's good. It is a little bit weird. You're like, I hope my kids were not.
No, that was really, really cute. I have a question for you. I don't know. I just put in the notes that if people have questions, to go ahead and put them in the comments so we can keep track. But I was wondering, so, you know, you have written about all of these fabulous places, and I know that people are going to want to know, you know, have you been there? What kind of travels did you do? Did you go to research your book specifically, or did you take advantage of trips that you've made in the past and just kind of decide to write from there?
Oh, yeah. So as far as Scotland goes, unfortunately, I have not been yet. So my experience in Scotland is the little yellow Google man from Google Maps going to all those
the street view, so you can twirl it around and see.
So you get amazing street views of the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. So that was very helpful. And my editor has actually been to Scotland twice. So she was able to kind of fill me in on some things. But I've been to Ireland and Dublin, and I've been to London. And when the girls head to London next, in this book, they leave Scotland and go to London. And several things that they do, the Victoria and Albert Museum, a supper cruise on the Thames. Those are all from my experiences.
Very cool. Did you do that before or after you had kids?
Before. so far,
all of my travels were much more exciting before I had children.
Yeah. So most of our vacations at this point have been like Disney World and Universal, but we are going in August with the girls to Montreal, and I'm excited about that.
Fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I don't know, are we allowed to talk about the fact that you do audio stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I call it an open secret because I do use a pseudonym.
Although I guess I just outed you anyways if I wasn't supposed
It's in
to
my
say
bio.
that.
It's in my bio. I do use a pseudonym just because it helps keep the two separate, because I do narrate for other authors besides myself. And so that's distinctly separate. Plus, I mean, people who know, but if people who don't know, that does give me a little bit of security, because just today I got a request from an author to read his book. You get some odd requests, and sometimes sometimes it's best they don't know who I am.
Got it. Well, and you know, based on your books, I think you're probably fairly open to anything, but I guess, well, no, I mean that in a really complimentary way.
I'm not uncomfortable reading sex scenes. No.
Right. That's what I meant.
I do have, you know.
But there are probably, I mean, I've read a few things that people have put out there, and I don't know, it seems like they're always, I don't know, I don't want to generalize, but older men that write things.
This was a male author writing about a stripper, and I was
fantasy. Yeah, I think it's kind of men writing about their fantasy, and I can imagine.
I just don't want to be the one narrating it.
Melanie Karen actually has a question for you, and she said, how far in the future do you have books lined up to write, and do you do it as a part-time or full-time job?
How far into the future do I have books lined up?
Yeah, I guess like how many?
Okay, so the first 3 books in this series just came out, and my publisher has the proposal and synopsis of the other 2 girls. There's 5 friends, and so they have the other 2 books. So I know Anna's story, I know Delaney's story, and if anyone has read my books, and in the second book, the hero Theo has a sister, Tabitha, and there is a potential novella for Tabitha. So that's all set, and one way or another, those books will happen. It just depends on if they'll happen with St. Martin's, or it's just up in the air right now. We don't know yet, because the 3rd book just came out. And then I also have, like I mentioned, what I'm working on. I do have another series, another contemporary romance series that's in the works. And hopefully, like I said, fingers crossed, I'll be able to talk about it more soon.
Well, and I think, too, for people that aren't familiar with how traditional publishing works, oftentimes, you know, you fulfill your contract, and then it's oftentimes kind of a waiting period because they want to see how your sales go, and for you to have released 3 at once, they probably don't have a ton of data yet because
right. And so I was lucky in the sense that yes, they're waiting on more books in the Sometime series for exactly the reason you said, but they wanted something else right now, so that was good. That they're, you know, we'll see. Yep. But it's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yes, I totally feel you there.
Linda wants to know, for all 3 of you authors, what does your family think about your writing?
I can go first since I've already been just blabbing here. My husband is really proud of me. He's been awesome about everything. Anytime we've been somewhere and people ask, you know, oh, what do you do? Or what does your wife do? He's like, she's a romance writer. Like, he's just full on, not at all ashamed of it. Like, some might think there's always this kind of chit chat that, you know, husbands can be embarrassed, or no, he's not at all embarrassed. And both my girls, they like to make fun of my books. My oldest has come up with some extra titles for me. She's come up with like Squirmin' with the German and Saucy with the Aussie. But they've both been very supportive. And I just found out today that my youngest was pimping my books at camp to her friends' moms.
Yes, all of my children's teachers know that I write romance now. And yes, like, thank you. This was kind of mom's little secret, and they've totally outed me. So, but my husband, who is, I don't know, probably the most introverted person that I know, he's the one that actually sold some of my books to a few of his coworkers because it came up in conversation and they wanted them. And so he's like, I need some of your books. Like, why? It's like, you can take them to work. I've got some people at work that want a copy. I'm like, what are you doing selling my books at your work? Like, that is not okay.
Like Girl Scout cookies.
How about you, Jenna?
James is, you know, very supportive and quite understand a lot of what I did until I have a he has a daughter. So I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter, and she lives with us full time. She loves to write. And so she and I actually wrote a book. We're doing a series, and we've already published our first one. And so now that she's involved, he's totally like, you know, totally on board. And of course it's more, they're in, you know, it's more like Nancy Drew kind of stuff, but still, I mean, he's now all like, you know, very proud.
That's fun though. I was just saying that's great that you're doing something together like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I was just looking through the comments. It looks like Dawn popped in to say hi. Linda also wanted to know do you write full time? Or sorry, Karen wanted to know, do you write part-time or full-time?
So I used to be a high school English teacher, and then I ran my own children's theater company. And then I'm lucky in the sense that with my husband's job, I didn't have to work. So when I started to write, I started to pull back on those other things. So now, yeah, writing is my full-time job and also, you know, domestic, you know, manager of my family and home, and also the audiobook narration. But the majority of my time is spent on writing.
How about you, Jenna?
Same sort of deal, actually. I taught for a number of years, and then it was just the craziest thing that happened in February. I turned 55, and I spent on my birthday that I was going to retire, you know, and write. And then, unfortunately, a few days later, my house burned down, and so everything just got put on hold. Yeah, yes, and yeah, I mean, it was insane. And so I went ahead, and people were like, "Well, you can't quit your job now." And I said, "You know, I already had one heartache, and I would not have two." So I did. I just put it all in the basket, and we just went out on faith, and I write full time now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's been a very long year, I will say that. And I didn't write for 9 months when we had to get a new house. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, I went seriously on like, you know, yeah, I'm still going to do it. And I mean, it was terrifying. But yeah, I'm writing full time.
Wow, what a catalyst though to get you there. That's sorry about that. So do we have any other questions? I don't know. Did you see any other questions, Catherine?
Karen asked, well, I think Jenna just said her stepdaughter's 16. So I guess, Melanie, the question would apply more to you as far as how old are your girls?
So I have a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old. So one's going to be a junior and one is going to go into 6th grade. Both girls.
Crazy. And I have a 15-year-old and 13-year-old girls, and I have a 10-year-old self-contained natural disaster of a son. So
I'm going to steal that. I think that's what I'm going to refer my 2-year-old as. I call him my Tasmanian devil right now.
Self-contained natural disaster.
It's like if a tornado met a hurricane, met a typhoon, and moved into your house. That's kind of what my son is.
Tasmanian devil. That's what I refer to him as. Yeah. I couldn't think of anything else that would fit.
Well, that's accurate. I mean, that would explain him too, but I'm not sure that's enough to explain my son. The Tasmanian devil stops every once in a while. So
mine's still mad. So.
And my son does not.
If the Tasmanian devil and the Energizer bunny.
Yes, maybe. If you put those two together, that would be accurate. Melanie, can you say the names of your 3 books one more time? I think Sarah might have joined us late and she was asking.
Sure, yeah. So the first book is Getting Hot with the Scot, and we have Logan and Cassie. And then the second book is Smitten by the Brit, and that's Bonnie and Theo. I call them my Ariel and Prince Eric. And then the third book that just came out this week is Once Upon a Bad Boy. And that's Bo and Sadie, and Bo and his beard.
Yeah, I love your covers. I think they definitely convey the mood.
Yeah, cute and romantic.
Yep. So I think what we'll do now is go ahead and have Jenna read. Are you ready, Jenna?
Yes, I am.
Just kind of thinking about it. All right. So
Yeah.
do you need to set up a scene for us or anything? Or are you going to jump in on like page 1, or do you need to set the stage?
Okay, so I'm going to read from Murder on the Vine. And the main character, JC, she owns a bookstore and bar with her Gramps, who is a retired military guy. He's a colonel.
So you said
he is
bookstore and bar. I'm sorry, bookstore and bar.
He owns a book. They own a bookstore and bar together.
Okay.
Drinking in there.
I want to go.
I know. I'm hoping this is not a fictional place. Okay.
I actually have boozy recipes in the back of all my books too.
Nice. Oh, you are in the right spot right here.
So JC and Gramps own a bookstore and bar, and Gramps, of course, is trying to keep the girls on the straight and narrow while JC loves to do a little sleuthing, and there has been a murder. And so she is going to do some sleuthing. And of course, the new guy in town is the, and he's, telling her, you can't, investigate, leave it to me, blah, 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 blah. So of course, she actually in this scene is none of them are with her sister, but she's with her mother and her mom's friend, Tilly. And the great thing about, I love this series, I actually wrote it for my grandfather a few years ago, a World War II veteran. So this is kind of my way of honoring him. And in this story with Gramps and Tilly, and Gramps, of course, was military, and he's who he is at 65, and Tilly is a retired contortionist and trapeze artist, so she's crazy and has tattoos and everything, so it's a great romance there too. All right,
okay,
so
I'm gonna go ahead and we'll pop us down, and you go ahead and take it over.
Okay, so in this scene, Tilly and JC have come back from the little investigating they've done, and they know they're in trouble because they're going to be caught. Gramps chose that to fill his empty tumbler with a little bit. He looked at our painted faces and the ice on my ankle. You girls look like you've done something illegal. Do I want to know about it? Nope, Mom said. You go on back to drinking your whiskey and watching John Wayne. Gramps frowned at us. Why do you girls look like Rambo? I lifted my hand in the air towards Gramps. See, even he thinks we look like Rambo. I could hear Gramps grumbling to himself about crazy women as he went to the liquor cabinet. What John Wayne movie are you watching now? Tilly asked. True Grit just started. Come your refill. You girls might want to wash that in your face before. Gramps ignored us for the most part, just shook his head and muttered to himself as he poured his 2 fingers of his favorite whiskey. Without another word, he shuffled back out to watch his show. Well, did you learn anything from this little expedition? Jax asked. No, I pounded. Yes, Tilly countered. First, we learned when we investigate, we should always pay with cash, not a credit card. And we learned Hugo and Berta are onto us. I guys live, and that makes me nervous. Should we be scared? Jax asked. Mom laughed. With Gramps around? Never. There's more ammunition in this house than I care to admit. Believe me, the Colonel knows how to take care. I wasn't so sure I was ready to bank on that alone. There were plenty of times Gramps wasn't around. Ruff, ruff, ruff. I could hear Duke getting excited. Before I had a chance to wonder who would be coming up the drive this late at night, I heard bang. JC, I know you're in there. Oh, crap, I shouted. It's Connors. Tilly, help me get her in the bathroom and wash her face. Dad, stall him. Mom shouted into the living room as she dragged me to the bathroom. Part of the movie, Gramps said. Why do I have to get involved? Just did. Gramps sighed and hoisted himself out of his chair and shuffled to the banging door, Duke right at his heel. Mom and Tilly shoved me onto the toilet. I winced when I banged my sore ankle on the porcelain. Great. Now my ankle really did hurt. Mom grabbed a washcloth out of the cabinet and wet the cloth and bar with soap. She grabbed hold of my face and started scrubbing. Any protest I had was cut off as she smeared my nose 20 different ways. I had to suck in air whenever I could. I'm still in my black clothing, I mumbled through the washcloth. Isn't that going to be suspicious? Let me worry about that, Mom said. Tilly, finish cleaning her up. I'll be right back. Before I could say anything, Mom opened the door and slipped out. I got up from the toilet, bent over this face. I still had on my hat. I quickly yanked it off my head and almost screamed at my hat hair. There was no way I was going to be able to fix that. I know she's here, Colonel. Connors' voice carried into the bathroom and I could hear his frustration. Let's just get this over with. Why don't you come on in, son? Have a drink. Watch a little John Wayne with me. I heard Duke bark in agreement. Good night, sir, Connor said, his voice still loud enough for me to hear. I knew he was doing it on purpose. I need to talk with JC, either here or at the station, her choice. I'm going to jail. Connors is right. I don't look good in orange. No time for John Wayne, Gramps scoffed. Boy, there's always time for John Wayne and a drink. You like John Wayne, don't you? Connors chuckled. I like John Wayne and drinking just fine, but not tonight. Now, I need you to produce JC immediately, sir. Mom opened the door and sneaked back into the bathroom. This was all I could find in Gramps' room. Hurry, put it on. I groaned when I saw what she brought me. There's no way he's going to believe this. I held up green boxer shorts and one of his white sleeveless undershirts. Just do it and hurry, Mom hissed. I yanked on the 3 sizes too big clothes and held them together at my waist. How the heck am I supposed to walk like this? I looked in the mirror and screamed when black zebra-striped bra through the shirt. Before I had time to react, Mom opened the bathroom door and shoved me toward the living room. I stood on the ankle, so I pretty much shuffled without trying to look like I was hobbling. He stared at me when I entered the living room. The look on his face told me everything I needed to know about the forthcoming conversation. Gramps shook his head as he walked back to his recliner, mumbling about missing his show to bail me out of jail. As if in agreement with Gramps, Duke turned his back on me and ambled to the side of the recliner, turned on his stomach, then shook his huge head. Nice boxers, Connor said. These? I glanced down at my hand, grasping the clothes tight to my body. What can I say? Gramps isn't the only fan. Connors' mouth twitched. I swear he wanted to smile. Instead, he stared me down. Oh, think fast, JC. I just got out of the shower when you arrived. I realized the laundry was still going, so I just grabbed what was available. You just got out of the shower. Your hair is still, well, it's dry, but it looks frightening. With my flat locks. Oh, shower cap. I was so thrilled I'd thought of an answer. It came out as, let's stop the lying, JC. Oh, crap. You know why I'm here. I shook my head even though he hadn't said it like a question. We're going to play it like that, Connor said. Fine. I have a friend in the sheriff's department who informed me about a call they received from Sumptuous Vines. My friend knows about the case I'm working on and thought there might be a connection. Seems tonight the owners at Sumptuous Vines reported a break-in. And a break-in? I interrupted. That's not what? Connors demanded. Gramps lifted his whiskey in the air. You might want to stop talking now, JC. Duke whined in agreement. That's not very nice of someone, I supplied lamely. Uh-huh, Connor said. Anyway, seems there was a break-in and the owner, Hugo Keller, was stunned with a stun gun. Gramps choked on his whiskey. Duke shook his head, lifted his paw, and covered one eye. Really? I said. The youth of today, am I right? I couldn't think of anything. Hugo reported seeing 3 women dressed in black outside the window. Wait, it was getting dark out. 3. That matter. If they stunned him, how did he have time to count that there were 3. Connor's nostrils flared. I misspoke. Seems the perp some sort of masks or something to cover their face. He threw his hand up in the air, thinking, I mean, seriously, you could have been killed. I don't know what you mean. Connors didn't say a word. I could all but see the steam coming out of his ears. Hugo has the same marks on his neck as the colonel on his arm. Care to explain how that happened? Bail money? Gramps asked from his chair. Connor stared at me for another 5 seconds. No. Seems Hugo and his wife don't want to for fear of bad press. I let out the breath I didn't know. I rubbed the dull ache in my chest with my free hand, walked me to the door. A command, not a request. I gave Gramps and Duke, but they both ignored me for true grit. I spoke to limped after Connors. What'd you do to your ankle? Connors asked. Oh, I stepped down on it wrong coming out of the shower? Connors chuckled. Is that a question like you're asking if I'm going to buy or that ridiculous lie? Darn, he was never going to. I bit my lip and looked down at the floor. I didn't think I could hold back the tears much longer. I really did bang it on the toilet, I added lamely. Connor sighed, smiled weakly at him. He pulled me close, careful of my ankle. I guess if you manage not to get arrested all night, I'll see you when I pick you up. You mean you still want to go out after all this, I mean? Connor's lackluster tresses. Yeah, God help me, I do. His hands rested on the back of my scalp, and he drew me close. I could feel his breath on my lips. You smell good. He slid a fingertip across my ear. You have black cream back here. I was so distracted by what he was doing, I couldn't think for a minute. It's this new face cream I'm trying, Connors chuckled. You are the world's worst liar, JC. He sniffed his finger, then licked it. Is that dark chocolate? Mom and Tilly went to the naughty store here in town and bought edible body paint. A wicked grin splayed over his face. Well, for future reference, I do like the chocolate, but I'm kind of partial to vanilla and sugar. My breath caught in my throat. By the way, Connor said, love the bra. Wear it tomorrow night. Oh, you bet. I watched him walk down the drive and get into his unmarked police car. He lifted a hand to wave, and I did the same. All in all, not a bad night.
That was super cute. Here, I'm just pulling everybody else back in. Nicely done. Can you hear us?
Oh, no.
Oh, Jenna can't hear me. You know, this is what happened.
I can hear you.
Wait, I think, Jenna, can you hear us? Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, I thought you said you couldn't hear me. I'm sorry.
I think there's just a delay.
Okay. Hopefully. All right. Got it. So I really enjoyed that. What'd you guys think?
I want to read more. I want to hear about this date.
I know. No kidding. No, I thought that was absolutely adorable.
Melanie cut us off before the kiss, and Jenna cut us off before the date.
I know, right? Well, that's what you're supposed to do, is leave your readers wanting more. So there we go. We're all back on now. No, I thought that was absolutely adorable. So is part of a series, or it just kind of, they're standalones, but they're all in the same world?
This is a series. This is the Sullivan Sisters series, and there are 4 books right now in this series. Of course, there's going to be more. And then I have another series that has 10 and currently writing on. Oop, kitty, kitty. And then, of course, the one with my stepdaughter that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I got my new romances coming out next month, hopefully. So.
And you are indie published, right?
Yes. Yes.
So your time frame is much quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, that makes a big difference. So, no, I thought that was absolutely adorable, and I really loved the Gramps, because that just reminded me of interactions with, you know, my my grandfather and how my dad might react to something. And John Wayne is a big hit in our house too. So that was fun.
And I grew up liking John Wayne.
So yeah, the reference to True Grit totally picked up on that. So
Did have some questions.
yeah, I was gonna say Linda is calling you both teases, which I think she should know by now that we have a lot of teases on here. So sorry, Linda. Go ahead, Catherine. You got some questions?
Yeah, Linda actually was the one. She asked for both of you ladies. First question is, how do you handle criticism and or bad reviews if you receive any?
Never.
Of course, you receive. I think anytime you put yourself out there, there's going to be good and bad. And I always try to remember that reviews are for the readers, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. So you can have 100, wonderful reviews and one negative one, it will get you. But again, just to know that they're for the readers and that everyone's entitled to their opinion. And if your book makes everybody happy, you're probably doing something. I mean, everyone doesn't like pizza. Everyone has it's subjective. Art is subjective. And once you finish a book and send it out into the world, that book becomes the reader's book, and they bring everything within themselves to that story, and you can't control it. So, you develop a thick skin, but I think that's part of the publishing process is developing a thick skin, and just trying to remember, even though it can feel very personal sometimes, some of these negative reviews, I have a lot of, I'm in a debut author group since I'm a new author, and all the debut authors will talk amongst themselves. And one of the things we talk about is kind of how we handle Goodreads, and many authors just don't go there anymore. Just stay away, because it's just not emotionally a safe place for them. They don't need to see that stuff. Or some will have friends who read the reviews first and send them the good ones. So I read them all. I admit it. I read them all. And I appreciate every single review, because even though reviews are for readers, authors need those reviews. So I appreciate everyone who takes the time to put those words down somewhere, even if they're not nice words. So yeah, it's part of the job. That's my opinion.
I would say the same thing. The negative ones, they do hurt, because a lot of times it's it's that personal, they didn't like the fact that there's alcohol in a book because, I'm perpetuating, all this stuff. But I've only had one review that really just broke my heart, and it was because it was very personal. I mean, just a writer, and it hurt because my daughter happened to be sitting right there, and she saw it, and so that is a little painful, when you don't know who I am and they think I'm making fun of someone, because I have a character, Aunt Shirley, and she's the reason why I get all the flasks, because Aunt Shirley is 75, who just got married to tequila, and she likes to keep tequila down inside her bra. And a lady had said something, but I had a lady not take kindly to that, and she let me know some really bad things thought of me. And so that one, then for Maddie to tell James, that was harmful. But otherwise, the few reviews that I get that are negative, they're usually just that person, and that's okay, because that could be what they're dealing with at that time, and that's okay.
Well, and like you said, Melanie, I kind of tend to think of it as, I mean, I don't absolutely love every single book I read, and so I think a lot of times it's personal taste, and something that, I'm in a book club, and we, there's like 8 of us, we all read exactly the same book, and half of us might say, oh my gosh, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And the other half are kind of like, I mean, it was okay, or, like it just didn't. And so I think, as a reader, I mean, that is totally, I think that's why you read, because you want to feel things and you want to step inside another world. And, as a writer, I feel like, you can't write a book for everyone. And so I just hope that the people that love my books and that want to read my books, and the people that, that my books find their way to them, and that they find their way to me. So, and then, I kind of wonder though, because there are some readers that will say, like, this is the third book I read by this author, and I still don't like it. And, part of me thinks then, stop putting yourself through the pain of reading my books, please, And so, I know it's kind of funny, but, if you don't like it, I don't expect everybody to like my books. But I feel super, super grateful that there are people out there that do. Mm-hmm. So, and yes, and I would not wish that pain on anyone. If you hate my books, please do not continue to read them, because they're going to be the same kind of stuff, because that's what I write. So,
yeah.
We have some really good questions going on, so I'm going to try and I see all your questions. I'm just going to try and go in order here. So the next one is for all the ladies. What are the hardest scenes to write?
I was just actually talking about this in one of my writer groups, and about what part of the book is the hardest to write. And because one of the girls was having a really hard time with the ending. And for me, I can see the ending of the book really clearly early on. So I'll write the ending of a book early in the process. It might change a little bit, but overall, it's if I can see that scene, then I write it down and I put it aside. For me, the hardest part of a book is they talk about the saggy middle. It's not the saggy middle. It's right after the saggy middle, before you get to the nice tie up at the end. It's that weird little 3/4-ish place where the conflict should be getting resolved, or there's like one last spike in the conflict before things are resolved. And that's my tough spot is that little section after the middle and before the end, if that makes sense.
I would say for me, I personally feel the end point. I don't know what it is, but it's like everything comes out. I mean, 15 different things can happen in an ending. I really love just to put it all out there, and I'm exhausted, and usually there's laughter, there's crying, there's everything at the end of every one of these. My hardest part is really the beginning, and because it's a series, you have to make sure everything from all your backstory, and so a lot of times that can get very tedious, and sometimes I feel it might be stalling, so it's the getting going, sometimes that's hard.
This is really cool for me on this end to hear.
You're doing a great job, Catherine.
All right. I lost it. Where is it? Sorry. Here we go. Cricket asked, did any of you have any formal education in writing before you started, or did you just pick up a pen or get on the computer one day and start writing?
So I have my degree, my bachelor's degree is in English and theater. I was a double major. So as an English major, there was definitely, I wasn't a creative writing major, but, I took grammar courses, did a lot of writing as an English major. And then I taught high school English. So I was teaching high school kids how to write. And so in that sense, yes, I had some formal training. Yeah.
I would say same sort of thing for me. I actually, before I did anything, my first career was court reporting. And then I went back and I got my master's in education. And then I actually started my doctorate and got halfway through and got a specialist degree. And I was teaching, of course, reading and writing. And I stepped out about 2 years ago and I started to do the IQ testing at our school district. And when it was time for me to either, continue and do the last half for my dissertation and stuff, I was like, I really don't want this. I want to write. So that's kind of when that whole story started. And I was like, I'm just going to, because I had, at that time, I had 5 books out. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So, but yeah, so a little bit of same thing. I taught it a long time, and it's always been a passion. That's what I loved about court reporting, I might not be telling my story, but I'm telling someone's story.
Yeah, I bet you've got a lot of ideas stored up from court reporting. I don't know. What kind of court reporter were you?
I did mostly criminal. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I loved it. Yeah.
Karen wants to know, what is an author on your wish list to meet someday?
So the 2 authors I've most wanted to meet, I've actually gotten to meet. I've met Diana Gabaldon of Outlander fame. I've met her.
So jealous.
I met her twice, and when she was doing a signing in Chicago for, I think it was A Breath of Snow and Ashes, I had her write keep writing or something like that to me in my book. And then the other author I really wanted to meet was Karen Marie Money, and I've gotten to meet her a couple of times. So those are my 2 big ones, and so I'm lucky enough that I've actually been able to meet them.
That's really cool.
That's nice. I think I love Janet Ivanovich, I love that type of writing that just keeps you laughing, because I love to laugh, so I will read by her, because usually, and even if it's co-written, I love her books. So I think that would be my favorite.
What to write? That's that pushy, Melanie. I'm totally joking. I'm joking. See, Dawn isn't here. I have to give somebody crap because Dawn isn't here. So no, it was fun though. She's amazing. Just the amount of stuff that comes out of that woman's head, it's amazing. And then, so one of my other authors that I really wanted to meet, and it's the Pioneer Woman.
I've met her. Drummond. I've met her.
I met her at a cookbook signing. So I got to meet her too. Cool. But that was, so yeah, she wrote her love story, which.
Yeah, it was like Black Heels and Tractor Wheels.
Yep, and Tractor Wheels. So I'm kind of a cyber stalker fan of hers.
I followed her back when she first started because I homeschooled early on. Yep. So I found her through homeschooling, and so she had just put out the first cookbook and was going on tour. Mm-hmm. And my daughter and her sons were the same age, and so when I went to her signing, my daughter and her sons ended up hanging out together. And coloring underneath a table in a Barnes and Noble.
Nice. And now they are keeping in touch like they're pen pals and they're going to get married, right? Because that would be way cool.
No. No.
Yeah, I drove to Omaha for one of her signings to meet her and stood outside in November for 4.5 hours.
Yeah, she gets they line up.
It was crazy. But I got to meet her, and I got to meet the Marlboro Man, and then I made my kids
at the signing too. He brought she brought T-shirts for everybody. And,
I didn't get T-shirts.
Oh, I got 3 of them. So if you want it's from her first tour. So if you want a Pioneer Woman T-shirt from this would have been 2008 or something.
Okay,
it was a while ago.
No, I dragged my kids to the lodge in Oklahoma as when we drove, because my mom lives in Texas still, and so we drove down there for spring break, and I made them go to see the Pioneer Woman's Mercantile and all that. And my son just said, "Why do we only get to do stuff you want to do on spring break?" Because I'm driving the van.
I'm driving the car.
That's right, because I'm the mom in charge. But we got to go out to where she records, to the lodge where she records her episodes, and it was way cool. So I did get to meet her.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So yeah, my life is complete now. I've met Diana Gabaldon and the Pioneer Woman. So
that's really cool.
There are lots of other people.
A road trip with you and Diana and Ree, just
that'd be fun. Yeah, you set that up and you just let me know when and where and I'll show up.
Lucky enough to do it.
Can I?
I know. I'm not joking.
You stick me in the trunk. I want to come along.
We'll get one of those like old Cadillac convertibles that's, there's room for like 7 to sit across in the back seat. So we'll all go.
In the back.
Yeah. Yeah, Jenna will have a body in the trunk. So it'll be great.
I don't know where that came from, officer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of got off track. Were there any other questions, Catherine?
Karen asked, do you ever receive snail mail or fan mail now that Facebook and emails are so easy to do? Do you still do anything the old-fashioned way?
So actually, I'm astounded. I've been really blessed. So a couple different ways. I received snail mail. I had a fan send me. It was amazing. She had a necklace made for me with my initial, and then on the other side it's a Scottish thistle. And
Wow.
it was so amazing. And then, so I've had a little bit of snail mail that way. And then just this morning, I had fan mail via a message on Instagram, which, you can get weird stuff, but this was authentic. It was a woman found smitten by the Brit in a grocery store and picked it up and just really connected with the story. And she said, because in the acknowledgments, I talk about how this book is for someone who gets tingles in a stationery shop and loves Austen and just loves the feel of books and of those kinds of things. And she was like, "You're talking to me." And it was just so touching that she took the time to find me and contact me and let me know how much she loved the book and how she felt about the book. So I've had direct messages on Instagram, through my author website, through my contact page. I get a lot of, I won't say a lot, but that's where I usually get people commenting and letting me know that, they love the book, or they found the book and were excited to read. So it always amazes me that someone will take their time out of their day to let me know they liked a book. So very grateful for that.
I find that, especially in the cozy world, readers love to give gifts. And today, coming home from our trip, I had one and it was hysterical because it says my name on it, but it said Jenna May Rawlings. And he's like, "What?" I said, "Haha, that was funny. J.K. Rowling, because I'm an author." Thank you. He was like, "I don't get it." And I was like, whatever. But I get great stuff. I mean, homemade scarves, stuff from my new house. I will say again, because most of my readers, they did a fundraiser for me when my house burned.
Oh, wow.
A lot of my readers, I'm telling, and this is hand to God, if it was not for readers and other authors keeping me forward in the 9 months that I didn't produce anything, I would have just, continued, because I wasn't. So I had authors and readers both just being like, "Oh, don't forget Jenna's books," that kind of thing. Get a lot of good stuff, a lot of acts and great things like that. So yeah, snail mail comes here a lot. I'm trying to get some light on, trying to get their attention.
I was going to say, you seem to be disappearing into the darkness. There you go.
Better.
Well, and we're actually kind of pushing it. We've been going for longer than an hour, so I want to be sensitive to your time. Were there any other questions that we didn't get to, Catherine?
No questions.
James thinks he's going to be funny and spot
Now you look like you're being taken in for questioning or something.
I think that's it for
Okay, no, okay.
Some ladies were just saying that they won't.
I know, right on me. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Some ladies were just saying that they won't leave bad reviews. They would try and contact you all in person, like email or something, versus leaving.
I think we lost him.
Oh, we can hear her.
Can you not hear me?
Hi.
Hear you?
Oh, okay. If I missed somebody's question, I'm sorry, but I think I got them all covered. The only other thing I could see was just a couple of viewers saying that they won't leave bad reviews on Amazon or Goodreads. They would try and actually contact the author and let them know like what their thoughts and feelings were.
Everyone is got a right to their opinion. So I mean, you don't have, it's your opinion of the book. So.
I really like how you put that with everybody's perspective and stuff, because I'm in a book club and we actually don't meet in person. We just
I think I lost that question.
I think Jenna's doing her own thing.
So I did, the only thing about the emailing the author about a review. So I did get an email the other day about my third book, and she said, here are some things I had questions on, because a lot of times early reviews will come off of advanced reader copies, and so sometimes things will change. And she was like, I just want to, if these things that I talk about are not correct, let me know. And she actually had one very significant detail completely wrong. And if it had been a review that she had posted, I would never say anything. Like it happens. People get the names of your characters wrong in reviews. They get all kinds of details. And you're like, which book did you read sometimes?
Or your name wrong sometimes.
Yes. But you don't say anything, because that is like, just do not engage. That's their space, not your space. But when they email you directly, then, so I did respond, and I did, say actually that what you were talking about, it's not correct. Here's what actually happened. Here's the page, So I appreciated the opportunity to clarify things for her, and she did go back and change the review. So that was a nice opportunity. But I know some authors don't want to have those negative reviews sent to them. They don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't mind, but I know some authors, they're like, what, if you don't like it, that's fine, but I don't want to know. But I appreciate it. If you want to take the time to tell me, I'm happy to hear your opinion.
Yep. Nope. I like that too.
I just saw the comment about how Jenna, you look like you're in the blur.
That's what I was thinking.
I look like you want to start crying and have snot come down.
Linda said that it looks like you're in the Blair Witch movie.
Jenna, I think you look great. I think you're fabulous.
Whoever Linda is, you're hilarious.
Linda is our Canadian viewer. I mean, we may have more than one. I don't mean to say she's our only Canadian viewer, but Linda is one of our favorite viewers, because she tunes in like every single time, and she is not afraid.
Well, cheers to you,
which
Linda.
I love. So, yeah, Linda won't mind. She'll tell you how it is. So. Well, on that note, I just want to say thank you very much for being brave enough to kind of come out here with me solo, since Dawn isn't here to kind of, keep things cool. Catherine did a fabulous job, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know when Dawn is coming back, but she's got plans. If we ever need a backup, you are going to be at the top of our list. Yeah, you've been fabulous. Thank you so much for stepping in.
Well, thank you. It's been fun I'm still kind of doing what I do without me on camera, but
Might be better.
On this side of it.
Oh, there, you look so much less Blair Witchy now, Jenna. So thank you so much for being with us. Both of you do have giveaways that are posted on the Romance Happy Hour page. So I don't recall exactly what the requirements were to enter, because I looked at it an hour ago and I've forgotten. My brain does not retain information anymore. But yeah, instructions are on the page. So if you would like to enter to win one of Jenna's books or one of Melanie's books, go to the Romance Happy Hour page and you can find all the details there. And I also, since I'm solo tonight, I'm screwing up all over the place. I forgot to check who's coming next month. So, but we will be posting it soon. So yeah, stay tuned to the Facebook page, and you'll be able to see who we have coming up next. And Melanie and Jenna, it was fabulous talking with you. I wish you both great success in your next series, Melanie, and oh my gosh, all the different adventures you have coming up, Jenna. So,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you.
Thank you. It was
Yes.
nice meeting you, ladies. Thank you for-
We never even talked about what we were drinking, but I do want to shout out to Catherine because she did make pina colada.
I
Not the
forgot.
pina colada recipe. Oh my gosh, where did it go, girlfriend?
It's gone.
I usually don't like to drink pre-made cocktails, but this Moscow Mule is really good.
I've never tried that before. So when you said you were drinking a Moscow Mule, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and I usually don't like pre-made cocktails, but or in a can, but yeah, this was very tasty. Good.
We'll have to check that out.
I've been drinking a lot of pina coladas lately because I found a liquor store around here that has.
I was just drinking water because I have just come from camping.
Oh my god, if I had come from camping, I would be drinking.
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Hey, we're camping with the family. We've been doing this for 19 years, and it's usually 4 generations that go. There could be 50, 60 people.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. And we, yeah. So
And you're not
I text Dylan tonight real quick, and I was like, am I going to have to go on camera? Because I'm going to need to shower.
I told her, we're super casual. It's all good. It's all good. And as long as you show up, you showed up. That's all that matters.
I'm here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We will leave the giveaway open for a couple days, and then somebody's going to be a lucky winner of a couple of your books. So,
great. Thanks for
all right.
having
Well,
us.
thanks for being with us. And
Thank
Dawn
you.
will be back next time. And I think next time I will be on vacation. So I'll try to
Oh.
tune in from the beach. But if that doesn't work out, Catherine, we're calling you.
Okay.
So we'll put you on call that night in case my Wi-Fi doesn't cooperate.
Fun. I'm all for it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.